Okay, so we're kind of nearing completion of our first website. But what I want to do next is just do something with this left div and right div. So we know that one's called left div, one's called right div. So if we go to our style sheets, we already have a left div and a right div in there. So what we want to do is we want to start changing the background colour. For a start, make the same as all the other ones, so the background colour to be hash that. There we go. And then again hash that, to make it consistent with everything else. But what I want to do is I want to actually start changing the size, doing the float left, etc. So let's start with the left div. Now we've got our background colour. So the next thing I want to do is I like to set the float left on this one. And next, let's make the width. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it 40%. So you can be very specific in pixels and EM with the size, but by using percent, it kind of looks at the size and it takes the 40% of the current size. So I like using percents when I do this kind of thing because it can vary depending on your viewport. Let's make a bit of padding, and we'll have padding at 10 pixels, and that's going to be all round rather than on a specific size. And what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to add a border to this, and I'm going to make this 2 pixels and a solid. So what we're saying is we're going to have the border of size 2 pixels thickness, and it's going to be a solid border. And I'm also going to have a margin of 20 pixels. And there's our left div. Now let's save that. Go back to our web page, and now we can see we have this left div here. Okay, so let's go back to our code, and for the right div I'm actually going to more or less have exactly the same. So let me just copy and paste that in there because it saves a bit of time. But I'm going to set this one to float right. Okay, just to force it to go onto the right hand side of the page. So there we have our float left and float right. We can make these a little bit bigger when we start putting content in there, but it's just a matter of seeing what it looks like and, you know, having it all kind of set out and all that kind of stuff. Now I could actually remove the borders. I may do that in a moment. I just put the border on there to see what it looked like. But let me go back to the code and let me go back to index. And what I'm going to want to do actually after this is I'm going to want to do my other div clear. Just to remove all the float and positioning. Save it again. Come back to our page, and there we go. It's put the menu, but the footer right at the bottom again, which is what we wanted. Now, at the moment, it doesn't really fit with the everything else having that border. So we've seen what it looks like. We don't necessarily like it, so I don't think it fits with our current one. So easy enough. Let's just remove the border from there. We either have a border on one thing or we have a border on everything. And what we can do is, I think we want to maybe reduce this to 30 pixels at the bottom, just to pull that in a bit closer. There we go. And what we probably want to do is make the height of these boxes more specific, just to make it look a little bit better. So let's just add a height on there, and let's make that 200 pixels, and let's do that with the other one as well. Let's copy and paste it. Just makes it look a little bit more sized, you know, so as if we've got more content on there. And there we go. It's actually, you know, looking quite good. It's we can see we've got different elements in there. You can imagine that we'd have some images or text in here, and what we'll do going forward, we'll add a little bit of content to these boxes just to make it look a little bit more. But the only one thing I want to do very quickly while I'm here, I want to add a little bit more size on the bottom of our header here, because the shadow's falling off there. We want to actually maybe fix that before we go any further. So let's go back to our header, and let's add a bit of padding at the bottom, just at the bottom of, say, 30 pixels. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. Just increase a little bit, because then it actually makes it look like those buttons are actually part of the header. So there you go. We've now added the last positioning of the elements on our web page. All we would do from here is just add some content to the left and right. Adds a little bit more content to maybe this hello, welcome part here. Add a bit of code to handle the entering of the information in these boxes, and obviously update the pages. There are one or two other things I want to show you very quickly to enhance what we can have with our menu, but they'll be in the next lecture.